So today is September the 5th, 2023, and this presentation will be about new spirituality. And the Hand in Hand Association invited Tony Girgis to hold a presentation, and I will start by introducing him. So Tony Girgis is an engineer. He's also a researcher of spirituality and esotericism, and also a member of the board of direction of an Egyptian Society for Spiritual Studies. And he's also an author of many books and articles. And yeah, as I said, this will be about new spirituality, and I'm gonna say the points he's gonna talk about. And so he's gonna start with the definition of new spirituality. Then he's gonna talk about the relation between new scientific research and mystic traditions. Afterwards, the law of resonance, then miracles of the brain, then the definition of energy versus spirit, then where's our own mind, how does it work, and then also numbers and curves and geometry, and last but not least, finding the compass within. Yeah, let's start. Thank you.
Camilla, first of all, I'd like to thank, of course, Camilla for giving me this opportunity for the second time in Hand in Hand Association. I hope in this evening we shall share important information and spiritual ideas. We'd like to actually discuss it in a very simple way to understand how the man in our era can have new spirituality or can have a new compass to understand the true nature of his own self. So we shall begin our actual lecture with sharing some points, the same point which Camilla actually, thanks to her, added at the beginning of the lecture. Just a minute, I'm going to share it. Okay. First of all, our lecture is about new spirituality. So how we can define new spirituality? First of all, and this is a very important rule, we have it from our mystic tradition, and it is actually true, that the spirit have no time and we cannot measure it. So if the spirit have no time, or living in the time zero, living in this plane or this world which is no time, have no time. So how we can actually say we have a new spirituality and we already have no time and we cannot measure it? So the new spirituality, which I mean, is this new behavior of fullness and emptiness. This is a very important rule. What I mean by new spirituality is the behavior of the man when he reaches this important level of fullness and emptiness at the same time. Here we're speaking about the structure of the spirit. We're speaking about the behavior of the spirit. The spirit is trying to understand. The spirit tries to manifest in a form, we call it personality, trying to help the self to increase and develop. So after having a lot of experience, after having a lot of knowledge, we reach this important level, which you call it fullness. You understand now, you have experience, but you must show this knowledge by a behavior. When you reach this level, you will live in new spirituality. So the new spirituality era, or new spirituality for the man, is a very wise level of his life. In this wise level, He will going to experience the spiritual world in a form of life, in a form of now, in a form of behavior, in a form of thinking about things and manifest it as action. So new spirituality is doing after fullness and reach emptiness at the same time. When we reach this level, when we reach this point, we can say we have a new spirituality, or we are living in a new lifestyle. We call it new spirituality. So to understand this, actually, we should reach this fullness, and to have this fullness, we must convince our mind. And to convince our mind, we need a lot of work to be done. We need to be very logical and at the same time very accurate. We need to gather all sciences in one form. Science here will going to be the tool to reach the unhidden, to reach what we already need to reach. So we shall go to another point actually in our lecture, which is the relation between new scientific researches and mystic tradition. There is actually a relation, a very important relation between science and esoteric teaching or mystic teaching or spiritual teaching or whatever we can call it. Science tries to find and enlighten dark rooms. Mysticism tells us how this room's built. This is very important actually. Science is trying actually to find out the way by emitting light. And there is darkness. Darkness here means the hidden rooms. Darkness here means ignorance. Darkness here means what we already cannot see. We're going to look to science. We find out that the development of science is shifted from physical to non-physical. First of all, when we define matter, we define it in a physical form or in a physical definition. But when we actually try to understand the meaning of matter, we find that there is another nature, and this nature is the waveform or the hidden nature of the matter. So even science is trying to develop from a physical level something I can touch, something I can see, something I can smell, something I can measure, to something else very, very difficult to be measured, very difficult to be understood because it is hidden. This development of science actually make a confirmation, wonderful confirmation that elders give us something like a key, give us something like a logic, a new logic to understand. So mysticism is trying to tell us how this room built, which is already in darkness according to science. And science is trying to enlighten those rooms with our elder principle. This interaction between ancient spiritual school and science give us the ability actually to live in now, live at this moment, live with a new conscious which can full the fullness, which I'm speaking about in the first of this lecture. Give us the ability to make a true experience for the spirit, because we are already spirits trying to live a human experience. This is a way, from my opinion, to reach a true spirituality. You must be very logical and you must be very scientific and understand what science can give us, to use it to understand the hidden form of our nature. Okay, so now we're going to speak about a wonderful law This law is already mentioned in mystic school, spiritual school, and also mentioned in scientific schools. Speaking about the law of resonance, first I'm going to say or tell all audience the definition, which is already made in public or known for all of us. The law of resonance, the law of resonance states that the frequency of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences will attract similar things in the outside world, vibrating at the same frequency. It's one of the main principles of the universe function on. If we're speaking about scientifically, resonance is simply something like equity of frequency. You're already doing something in a frequency, in a vibration, because everything is in this world, in this universe, is a vibration. When this vibration or this frequency is the same like other frequency in other area, we're going to have something we call it resonance. This equity of frequency gives us a huge energy because there is a similar frequency in two different realms or in two different places. And this is actually physically true. If I got a fork, a music fork, calculated or measured in a special frequency and push it or trying to hit it, the other fork in the same room will going to resonate, will going to move in the same frequency I hit the first fork. So at this point, resonance happens. So resonance is a magical, a wonderful, and scientific also rule. And this rule actually makes something like a mirror. If I have frequency and this frequency touch the mirror, then the other frequency behind the mirror will going to vibrate at the same vibration of my frequency. But what is the real meaning of resonance in a spiritual way? Okay, to understand the real meaning of resonance in a spiritual way, you will find, we will find something else, something a little bit different. Here we're going to speak about alchemy. In alchemy, actually, we're trying to find out the pattern of spirit. And the pattern of spirit manifests in a form, we call it materialistic form. When the matter vibrates at a specific frequency, it resonates with the energy of spirit. And when it is actually in a vibration or in a resonance with a spiritual frequency, something happens. Energy manifests, strength manifests. So the resonance we are speaking about is not always emotion and not always thoughts. It's everything. Everything in our body, everything in our entity. If everything in our entity vibrate in a specific frequency, it shall make resonance with spiritual realm. And when spiritual realm have resonance with me, we have a connection. We open this connection with the higher realm. Okay.
I've got a question there.
Of course.
So first of all, I wanted to ask, the law of resonance, is it a physical term or is it a spiritual term?
Look, when we're speaking about resonance, we're speaking about both. Why?
Well,
Why? Because there is something we do not actually have it in our school. And this rule is very important. Matter itself is a spirit. Matter is what we call it a manifested spirit. Matter itself is something we call it a condensed spiritual world. So Spirit have a manifestation, have a physical form, and this physical form is everything, is universe itself. For this reason, we can find the electron have double nature or have dual nature. We can find the electron beam as a physical electron beam, can manifest actually in a very physical way, or the physical beam can work in a natural wave. This actually gives us a confirmation that there is a very little thin separation between spiritual world and physical world. And this thin line can be controlled by your consciousness. Your consciousness is the key to move on from spiritual realm and your materialistic realm. But both are two different faces of the same entity or the same figure. For this reason, we cannot separate our physical attitude or the physical nature and spiritual nature. For this reason, we can have the power or the energy from the spiritual realm to help us in the physical realm. And we can build a lot of stuff in our physical realm to benefit or to help the spiritual realm. Yeah, spiritual realm sometimes need a lot of help. Just a minute, please. Okay, I'm with you, Kamal. Okay, if you got a point or you have another question, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, there's another question. That's a bit different topic, but like, because you mentioned kind of that there's a similarity between what's in the universe and what's inside our consciousness.
Yeah.
And so if there's a similarity between them, then also furthermore, can this be linked according to the Vedas, where they say that there's like 7 heavens up and 7 heavens down?
Yeah, actually, I agree with this totally. The law of resonance have actually a code, and this code mentioned in Hermes tradition. This code or this law is about that everything is up, have a copy down. So there is a relation between up and down. Our physical materialistic plane is simply a form of reflection, something like reflection of the picture. And this reflection is a reflection of something else. This else is the upper plane. We will find out actually that everything in our physical and materialistic physical universe is already based on laws and rules. For example, when we speak about light, we can find that this light is separated to 7 colors. Why 7? Why 7? We found that the number 7 is repeated a lot in different state and in different creation operated. All operations actually always have this key, number 7. The same for the golden ratio, 1.618. Why this number? So this number 7 or the golden ratio or all other constants are simply the mathematical equation which already constant in the upper layer and the lower layer. For example, when we discuss the story of creation in a physical way, we find out that they're speaking about something like a Big Bang. And after Big Bang, there is a lot of time needed to manifest matter This story happens every moment. Every moment. Every moment we can find that the creation of the universe itself can be symbol, making a symbol of it. When the man have the ability to marriage, the creation of new baby is simply the same story, the Big Bang. There is a similarity, a very huge similarity. Earth itself have been revived by what we call it iron from the heaven. The iron visit Earth and fertilize this egg, which you call it Earth, Gaia. And from this fertilization, Earth have its own minerals, have wonderful minerals to create what we call it a biological tissues. There is a similarity, and this similarity actually gives us a glimpse that everything happened in the upper layer is the same like the down layer. Spiritually speaking, the man itself is built from layers. His consciousness is built from layers. First, our physical, this physical materialistic body, and then we have etherical body, then we have emotional body, then we have mental body, and then we have astral body. All these levels actually give us a glimpse that the seventh realm of up is the same on us down. Any other question? Listening.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, let us speak about the miracle of brain. This is actually a very important point to see how the consciousness work between two devices, the physical one and the spiritual one. And actually we'll confirm the answer of your question, because your question is very important. So if we see the brain, we see that our brain create a neural structure with up to 11 dimensions. When process information, by dimension, they mean abstract mathematical spaces, not other physical realm. Okay, we'll see this link. I'm going to open it to give us a hint about this important topic. Just a minute. Okay, you can see the website or not?
Yes.
Okay, here we're speaking about new researches about how our brain work, how our mind work. Ancient school or old schools, scientific school, is trying to understand brain as the main functional tool for consciousness. But now on, we have new researchers with trying to understand consciousness in different ways. To give us actually a hint about these researchers, we should give an example before this article. This example actually will give us a brief about how our mind works. If I'd like to find out, for example, Camilla, and define all memories of Camilla, everything in the personality of Camilla, where can I find this information? Can I find in her brain, in her heart, her cells, her blood? We find out that this folder of Camilla, which have all information of Camilla, is actually not in Camilla, not in Camilla at all. This folder in a server, a big server, a great server. And Camilla itself now, which I can see here, is simply the browser. And using this browser, we can find out this folder, which already stored in the server. So Everything about all humanity is the same. We are just browsers. And this browser is, if activated in a perfect way, have a login with username and password. This username and password is Camilla. Her smell, her fingerprint, her DNA, all of this stuff is not the main character or the main core of Camilla. All of this is just the fingerprint or the password which Camilla use as a browser to connect to the internet. And when connecting to the internet, can download all information. We download all of this information actually with every breath. We inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale actually is the processing of this explorer to communicate with the server. We sleep. When we sleep, we give the consciousness the free will or the free ability to travel over different dimensions. So when we're speaking about the brain also is a very important key to interact with different layers on the server. If we use the right password, if we use the right key, only then we can communicate with this server. So they actually discover a very important discoveries. Here we're going to mention. They find what? They find that the mind, with every thought or every emotion, make what we call it a mathematical experience or a mathematical equation. And this mathematical equation by the nerve create what we call it a figure, create what we call it a geometrical shape. As we can see, there is a unique geometrical shape the mind can do. And this geometrical shape actually can communicate with 11 plan. When speaking about 11 dimensions or 11 plan, I don't mean 11 physical planes. No, I mean 11 mathematical dimensions. So how our brain very complex to communicate with the server. This what we already have now as a picture of nerve which create figures, is simply the way of authentication or the way of communication with the server. This represents the process of this explorer to get the right password. With every thought, with every emotion, we create a sentence. We make a language, like a machine language, to speak with this server, to give us the ability to open our own folder up, not down, in the spiritual plane. So we can see now that science is trying to reach the same conclusion. This conclusion simply is we are not physical or materialistic only. We have actually another nature, and this nature is very spiritual, very complicated, and very related to frequency and vibration. And the core of our this spirit is not in this physical body, but this physical body is very important because it is the only fingerprint to communicate with the server, to communicate with other layers. With these layers, we can understand spirit. Okay, I'm not going to enter, of course, in scientific detail, but I'll let everyone to see the link. I'm going to send the link to Camilla. If anyone have any questions, there is no problem. We shall discuss it in a separated lecture.
Thank you. That was very interesting.
Okay, back to our lecture. To actually have another very important definition, which is the definition of energy versus spirit. First, we're going to define energy in a scientific way, and then we're going to define it in a spiritual way. Energy is considered as a quantitative property that can be transferred from an object to perform work. Hence, we can define energy as the strength to do any kind of physical activity. Thus, in simple words, we can define energy as energy is the ability to do work. This is actually the scientific definition of energy. And all physics is trying to understand energy in applicable way. Which means I can find energy by the application of energy, not by the energy itself. Until now, science cannot define a perfect definition about energy. Just is the ability to work, ability to move, ability to motion. And there is two types of energy. What we call it potential energy and kinetic energy. Potential energy means something constant energy within the object. The kinetic energy means a motion or motional energy which can give this object the ability to move. We can share also a site a little bit to give us a hint. Here in this site, we can find actually the principle of energy. Energy in, I'm trying to have energy or show energy just to climb this mountain. And then I reach the top of the mountain. At this point, I have a stored energy. We call it a potential energy. Then this energy came out to give us the ability to reach the land over the mountain. So we can find two different type of energy: kinetic energy, which actually can mentioned as electrical energy, emotional energy, radiant energy or electromagnetic radiation, sound energy, thermal. It's kinetic energy, which means represent a strength, manifest as a move, manifest as a work, manifest as an ability. And there is a potential energy, which means stored energy or static energy. And this static energy can be found in gravitational potential energy or chemical energy, mechanical energy, or strong nuclear potential energy or weak nuclear potential energy, which is a very deep physical meaning. Now we need just to have a brief about the meaning of energy in a scientific way. So energy is the ability to do something. Energy is the ability to find out the strength, to manifest something, to move something. It's something like a self-ability to show strength. And that's it. Science cannot actually make a move or make a deep move about energy more than this. But in a spiritual way, we can find out balance. We can find out another rules which can express energy. Spiritually, energy is not just a strength. It's something like having the power and energy from another realms. If we have the ability to understand resonance, only then we're going to be the joint point or the key to connect between a very huge power and a very limited physical express. Spirituality gives us the ability to understand that nothing in vain. And also in scientific way, we have this principle because energy always balances itself. But where is the core? Where is the source? This is very important. In spiritual meaning or spiritual expression, we'll find a way to understand that, yes, there is a core in another realm. And we are just resonating with this source to give us the ability to show the strength of this energy. So in spirituality, energy have a conscious. In a physical or scientific way, we cannot actually understand how energy have conscious. But in spirituality, we know that the entity of man have the will, have the ability to think, have the ability to connect with the essence of the cosmic consciousness, which is the source of all of this energy. And we are trying to find this expression or this equation to get this energy in and out from the spiritual realm into the physical realm. If you have any question, okay, you're welcome. I'm listening.
Yeah, because would you then actually say that the spirit is separated from soul and is trying to get back to source of the soul?
So,
Yeah.
energy, consciousness. Yes.
Wait, I couldn't hear you there. Can you repeat?
Repeat your question and I'm going to answer. Repeat your question.
And so would you say that the spirit is actually like separated from soul, like for example at birth, and then we're trying to get back to it?
Yes, yes. According to the Vedic concept, we're speaking about the all or the one, the Almighty, or the Great Spirit, or the Great Cosmic Consciousness. And we are actually, when we manifest, we are separated from, we are not totally separated, of course, because this energy is already stored in us. But we manifest in different layers. So we get down. The spirit get down and have many bodies, many manifestations. And the mission of the spirit at this point is to rise the soul to the level of spirit. This is what we call it alchemical marriage, or this sacred state. This sacred state, the spirit is trying to give the self, which is a representation of our personality, the ability to understand the core of light. When the spirit do so, we get back to God, or we get back to Almighty, or we get back to the cosmic consciousness, or we get back, whatever we can call it. So we already fall out, fall down, and then the spirit have a mission to rise up with the self. But we cannot make a communication with the spirit directly. So we need to know ourselves first, or trying to help this self to increase. And this increase will happen with consciousness, with love, with true understanding of ourselves. In this point, when this point happens, the spirit will have the ability to rise up with this matter. This matter itself is not free. Everything is not free. Trying to find the real freedom. This real freedom can be reached by the help of spirit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, another question.
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay. So, where is your mind and how it works? Maybe I answer this point actually, or discuss this point when I figure out the meaning of server and browser. This is a very actually clear example. In fact, we are real, but at the same time, we are reflect. We are living in a wonderful, I'm not going to say illusion, but I can say simulation. We are living in a perfect simulation, and this simulation is simulate the perfect truth, but in a simple way, in a little examples. So if we gather all of these examples in a true way, only then this projection will going to fall out. When the projection fall out, we will going to reach our higher self. We're going to reach the truth, which is already hidden. We cannot find it by our physical eye, but we can reach it by our inner eye or spiritual eye. Our mind can help us actually, because our mind is this way, or this process, or this tool to reach the cosmic consciousness, our way to understand our true personality or our true real identity. To understand this, first of all, we should find out the browser. The mind is a browser. Our behavior is a browser. Our habits are the browsers. Our feeling, our emotion, all of these tools can help us to define the code or to access or log in with the code. When we log into the code, maybe sometimes we have the ability to communicate perfectly with the server. But we should be aware that the server is very complicated. The server have a lot of algorithms. To understand this algorithm, we should do a lot of work here in our materialistic realm. And to do so, we have many lifetime. All of this lifetime trying to give us the ability to be perfect or to master our tools. When we master these tools, only then we have the ability to log in to the source. Okay, until then, I'm going to finish our lecture. Maybe the other points we're going to discuss it later, because I don't want to give, condensed information. If you have any question, please ask me. You have another question?
I think it'll come later, as it always does. But right now, no, I think I'm good.
Thank you, Camilla. I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank your time. Hope we can meet again and make a first selection. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.